Alright, so I had an auger jam and pellets weren't feeding into the pot, and it was pretty depressing because I wasn't able to cook the other night. So I went online and I figured out a few things. First of all, I had to take my controller off and slide it through, and then there's 2 screws on this side, 2 on the other, that separate this hopper from the machine. Now, not using my brain, I started pulling it away and realized, oh, there's a hole in the bottom and the pellets are going to fall to the ground. So I didn't lose that much, but now I've been going through and filling this bag with my good pellets, and I'm using a slotted spoon because look at all of the dust in there. So I've been shaking it out to get the good stuff and leaving the crap behind. Now, briefly, I'll show you. I left my cover off for 2 days during the rain mistakenly, and if I can slide this back, you can see that that's the beginning of the pot down there, and it's full of that kind of I guess wood mush that the dust that's kind of turned into a solid, and I think it's blocked the auger. So I'll do another little video when I get it off and clean it out. I've got it down to just dust here, but I did find there's one more piece that had to come off, and I didn't see that online. So there's these 2 screws on this side and there's 2 on the other, and they hold this little metal tray in there, and that tray is wrapped around some of the internals that run this machine, and if you don't take it off, this hopper's not sliding off. So that's coming off next. Okay, so I should just stop making videos because it wasn't just these 2 screws. There were 2 on this side, and this whole thing had to come off for the hopper to come off. So the hopper is now empty and clean, and I'm left with this lovely mess. So obviously this is where everything feeds in, and it's just packed. So the rain got in here, unfortunately, when I left my cover off, and that's what I'm left with. So I know I got to take the motor off here, the fan off, and then the auger is going to pull out. So I know there's a pin here that needs to come out, and then a screw here, and I should have the tools for that. And the next thing you should see is me clearing all these parts out. Alright, so I got the pin out and the screw, and this is the moment of truth. See exactly what's going on here. I got a lot of crumbs in there. I'm gonna try and back this thing out all the way, and there we go. The auger's out, and somewhere through that hole is the pot. And yeah, you can see we just got a bunch of dust and stuff in there. I'm gonna go get my shop vac and make this baby look like new. All right, so now we have this completely vacuumed out. I wiped everything down pretty darn good with a damp cloth just to get aesthetics. But yeah, a lot of material was in there. I did vacuum, but I blew a little more out, so I'm gonna probably go through this whole thing with my putty knife and scrape the surfaces, especially down in there, so I don't get a grease fire, which I've had before. But I'm gonna start reassembling this mess and see if it works. All right, as you can see, we're put back together. We got power. I put just a little in. I want to be able to visibly see that it's feeding. I had a metal grate in here that came with it. I'm going to leave that out because I don't really think it's necessary. I don't plan on sticking my hand in the auger. You can probably see some markings all throughout. I went through with my putty knife. I do that every once in a while. Scrape all that out clean to prevent the grease fire. I did on the lid too. It's not pretty, but it's definitely safer than leaving that crap in there. And you can see some moisture from the cover being off. There was water underneath the pot here and the housing. I just tilted it forward and let it all drain into the ash, and then let that soak it up and dry vac it. So we'll come back when we see if I start dispensing some pellets. It's probably going to take a while for the auger to spin it in, and I have it on high which I believe is the necessary choice to charge the auger from nothing. So we'll come back and see how it looks. Okay, so we ran it on high to get pellets in there, put it through a shutdown cycle, and then turned it back on to smoke, and that's where we are now. And about a minute in, my heating element is working and I have a fire, so it's time to replace everything. Some pretty thick smoke. Smoking us out here. Replace all of our grates, which I should have left my rubber gloves on for. Okay, so looks like we're going to be back in business. Yeah, I'm going to shut this baby and let the heat rise. And we should see that going up shortly. There are quite a few pellets in there. Start seeing it climb up. And that's it. Difficulty level for this repair, maybe a couple beers, a little bit of frustration, but you know what, it's definitely worth doing it yourself. And even though I like a new smoker, this one was able to be repaired. So there we are.